Hi, Keith here from Academy of Bass. Thanks for joining me. I'm not really fond of the term old school because it implies that something is from a different time or old, not used very much, or is a little bit of a relic. But the bass line that I'm going to be looking at today is far from that. The reason why I've used the term old school is because it dates back to 1979. It's a track by a great American jazz funk band called Pleasure, and it was their biggest hit, I think, a track called Glide. The bass player on this track is Nathaniel Phillips. If you haven't heard it, you must check it out because it's fabulous. The bass line is packed full of what I would describe as core, fundamental slap bass techniques. But the very best thing about it is that it's uber funky. So if you want to learn a super groovy slap bass line plus a bunch of techniques that will stand you in good stead and help you play great slap bass lines, sit tight and I hope you enjoy the lesson. On face value, that looks and sounds super easy, and it largely relies on the ability to play octaves in various combinations, but it's the rhythmic control between the fretting and plucking hands where it gets interesting. So the bass line started with a C octave. By the way, there is a completely free PDF for this lesson, so feel free to grab a copy of that. It's got the bass line fully notated in both standard notation and tab, and I've also included the backing track that I'm using in this lesson as part of that download too. You'll find a link to that in the description below. If you do enjoy the lesson and you enjoy what I'm doing here, feel free to support the channel by subscribing. So we started with a C octave, then a G octave, then we've got another C octave but in reverse, and then a muted C because we're leading into B. Now, you may have noticed that when I play, I sometimes pluck with both my first and second finger. Now, when I'm playing octaves across the E and D string, I'll pluck the D string with my first finger, but when I play across the A and G string, I'll often pluck with my second finger. Now, that's just a technique that I've developed for myself to help my control, and it means that I don't have to move my plucking hand around much. You can play that with one finger, it'll work exactly the same. From this B, we've got another B root. Now I'm playing that with my second finger because that's leading into an F. Now that muted note after the reverse C octave is a really important technique. It's used so much in slap bass playing. So from this F, we've got this combination. Now that's a classic combination that you hear everywhere. I use it all the time. Now in my mind I'm playing a D octave, but I'm playing it muted across the A and the G string. You can just lay your hands across the strings and play the A and the G string. It really doesn't matter. After that muted octave, so to speak, we've got a D hammering onto E and then an open E string. Now it's the muted part of that sound that's really interesting because you can play it in a few different ways depending on the type of sound that you're trying to achieve. You can play it in the original way. You could also play it just by playing the A string with your thumb. Now that's a little bit tougher because you're using your thumb to play multiple notes in a row. So you need to have good control of your thumb. Now similarly we can play that on the E string. So we've got all three are really useful and they'll help you out in your playing. Now after this combination, we've got my favourite combination of the whole line, and for me, it was the toughest for me to get together. So we slide from F sharp to G, octave G, muted G root note, then we play a G root note. Then another muted G, and then we play another G. So that's classic, and it's a great way to get your thumb together and the bouncing between muted notes and notes that you sound out. So we've got, then we're back into, but in the actual bass line it misses the first note out. Then we've got this classic line to lead us back into it, like classic disco octaves. Open A, D, octave, C sharp, So if I play the whole line slowly for you now. Now if you take each technique on its own, they're all relatively straightforward, but when you put them together, it's the combining of them where the control really comes into play. And these are some of the most fundamental techniques that I use in my slap bass playing. So if you can get them together, playing much more complex bass lines will be far easier for you. If you like slap bass, and I'm assuming that you do if you're watching this, I can't emphasize enough the importance of getting the basic techniques together and also being able to handle the rhythmic syncopation. Even the most experienced players can struggle combining the techniques and rhythmical elements of playing slap bass. I really do hope that you've enjoyed this lesson. If you have, give me a shout out in the comments. Don't forget to grab the PDF too, the link to that is posted below. And if you like what I'm doing here, please feel free to support the channel by subscribing. Thanks for joining me. Look forward to seeing you again, and in the meantime, happy practicing.